Kate Winslow is a coach for parents and their teens. Kate focuses on building the bridge between parent and teen relationships, instilling hope, relief, and nurturing connection through what can often feel like defeat and helplessness as a teen parent. In this episode, Kate shares her story, detail about who she helps and why, and some of the struggles that her clients tend to face. In this business review part 1, we discuss low friction opt-ins, understanding her avatar, and using real life conversations to generate connections both on and offline. To contact Kate, her website is www.winslowcoaching.com. You said for the next 4 years that you want to be doing this part-time. What does your 5th year and on look like?
Well, hopefully, I have a nice, client base. I have a nice email list, and that's kind of what I've been working towards this last year. Just doing a lot of free workshops, a lot of free offerings, just to get, just to grow my mailing list, to be honest with you. And then, every time you meet someone, like this last Friday, I went and spoke at my son's school for parent coffee. And, there was like 10, 15 parents that came. And so I made good connections there. Every time you meet someone is an opportunity to serve them. And so it's just like that's what I've been kind of zeroing in on, just making connections and serving people as much as I can. What I'm realizing, it's kind of a long-term game with coaching. You might be meeting someone and serving them today. And when I say serve, I mean just if they come up to you with a problem, you really right there on the spot, you really serve them. You really tell them like what, not tell them, but at least hopefully you connect with them and help them out with what they came up to you for. Like I had those 10, 15-minute conversations on Friday, and they would come up to me with these very specific, individual personal problems with their kids. And right there and then, I wasn't holding back and saying, call me or get on my calendar. I was just like, hey, what about let's think about it collectively. What about this? What about that? And I so the parents walked away relieved, they got something out of it, out of our conversation. And so when you serve like this, when this is your model or this is your system, you know, people may not come back right away. They may come back to you in a year when they're up against something again with their families or their kids, and they remember, oh, Kate really helped me right on the spot right there. So that's my hope that I'm gonna have enough people that I've served in 4 years that I can create a bigger practice at that point. Um, and I don't know what it's going to look like. And the reason why I say 4 years is because my son is going to high school right now, and I'm co-parenting with his dad. And so he goes to high school next to his dad, which is about an hour away from me. So I have to commute with him when he's with me, with our family. And it takes a lot of my time. And it also allows me to have this other job, a full-time job that pays my bills, the office is right next to his school. So essentially go into the office and work, and then I pick him up from school and we drive home. Well, in 4 years, I'm not going to have to do that. And so the ideal setup would be I either will work for that firm, but from home remotely, and then I'll have more time to dedicate to my practice. I think it's a
Hmm.
solid plan.
Yeah. No, that sounds good. And the thing with planning too is we can make goals for ourselves, but like the how never reveals itself. It's
Yeah.
always in the now moments that we're present and we're doing what we do. And we can only see the how in hindsight, which is frustrating, especially when we've been programmed by society to learn how to do things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and watch the outcome kind of unfold. So that's helpful. And then will you just speak on why you chose to help teens, because I know that you, as far as your offerings, you help teens and parents.
Hmm.
Why did you choose that as a coaching niche?
Yeah. Um, so not at first. At first, I was an executive coach. That's my certification. I graduated from Berkeley Executive Coaching Institute so I'm certified from there. And so I coached executives for about 6 months until I just realized that my passion lies elsewhere. And so I know you know my story, but I feel like when you're a coach, the the people that you want to serve are kind of the people that reflect back to you where you most struggled. You know, this is something that you've overcome in your personal journey. And since my story, my most I think my most difficult years were after I immigrated. So I immigrated with my family from Russia at age 16, and I just had a really hard time assimilating. And I didn't speak English. I know you're very surprised by English. But I didn't speak a word of English when I first got here. And so I was thrown into the high school system, and I think I started as a sophomore. And I just had a really hard time. So I was taking ESL classes and wasn't doing well. And then on top of that, the cultural shock and everything else, the hormones. I left my boyfriend back in Russia. I had a good, solid crowd of friends or, nice base of friends back there. Here, I knew no one. I had my family, my parents and my sister, but outside of that, I didn't have any friends or any support. And my parents were, trying to survive. Essentially, it was like an immigrant story. They were cleaning offices, they were doing dishes. These are highly educated people with master degrees, and this was our life for the first 1, 2, 3 years, just while we're figuring things out, learning English, and just making the best out of it, essentially. Well, I didn't do well with that. I didn't do well with that portion. Um, I ended up just kind of getting involved with the wrong crowd. Um, these were late 90s. I don't know if you remember, but the rave scene was
Oh,
was
yeah.
happening. And so I just got involved with this crowd that was going to raves and doing drugs, it seemed fun and I felt very accepted when I was high. Or at least I didn't have a lot of insecure thinking about
Mhm.
my English or how I didn't fit in or how it was different or any of those thoughts. And so one thing led to another. I ended up dating this guy who was just not a good news. He's just like into experimenting with different drugs and was a bad influence on me. So from age, I think 19 to 23, I ended up using heroin. So it got pretty bad. My parents eventually kicked me out because I was stealing from them.
Mhm.
And so I became homeless. I moved to LA and just was kind of couch surfing and floating, essentially, until I had a few overdoses and ended up in the hospital. And it was just like kind of going down really fast at some point. I could just see myself using more and just needing more and not having enough money and going into like extremes, stealing and doing stuff like that. Um, until I had like one turning point where I just had a realization, which I now know is called insight. I had an insight, my very first one. And my insight was kind of twofold. It was about like if I continue doing this, I will die. It was very clear to me I will not live a long life. And then the second part to that was that I felt like I was worthy to live. You know, it just was very deep understanding, like as terrible as things were at the moment, um, as as far down as I have fallen, even then, I felt the worthiness inside of me, like that I was worthy to have this life, just for the very reason of being born and being alive. And so that feeling stayed with me, and nothing around me changed. You know, the circumstances were the same. I was still addicted to heroin, which is a really hard drug to get off of. I was still surrounded by people who were using. I still didn't have any money. My parents were still, not talking to me. And yet, that understanding changed everything. For some reason, I got really clear on what I had to do. And back then, I don't know if there are now, but we had methadone clinics which were free for users. And you can get in there and you could do like a 21-day detox. But they also had this program that was methadone maintenance. So that's for people who couldn't get off and they just needed this this synthetic drug, synthetic replacement, which is methadone, to keep them well enough to function, essentially. And so for the first time, I was like, I'm going to get on that. I'm going to get on the maintenance program instead of doing the 21-day detox, which I've done like 20 times before that and relapsed every time. But it was just very clear to me that it wasn't working for me. So anyway, story short, um, I got on that program and stayed on it for about a year, slowly detoxing myself, like 1 milligram at a time. So if I started like at 40, then I would just go to 39 in 2 weeks and see how I feel. And if I feel good enough, then I stay on 39 as long as I needed to. And then this is very, very gradual process. But anyway, to answer your question, why I'm serving teens and parents, it's because I'm just very attuned to that part of our lives as yes, as humans in our human experience that, when we're a teenager, there's a lot going on for us. Um, and I can relate to it so well. And having someone, and it could be a parent or a coach or someone else that believes in you and trusts that you will figure it out, that you have the wisdom inside of you, no matter how bad it looks from the outside, no matter how scary you are showing up in that moment, having someone who really believes in you matters. And I want to be that person.
Yeah. And so do
Or
you work with, I know you've said you work with the teens and the parents. Do you work with the teen coming from, I understand your struggles, and with the parent
Mhm.
saying, I understand your struggles as a parent dealing with this? Is that what you offer?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's never like, I mean, it can be when the parent comes to me, usually it's a parent who reaches out. When the parent comes to me and they have something going on with their teen and they want help. Um, the ideal situation is that I work with both at the same time. And, if there's some distance between them at that point, and there's misunderstanding or there isn't clarity, we come going to it from both sides of the bridge essentially, and they meet somewhere in the middle or somewhere on there. And that's my job to help them do that. But very often I end up working with just the parent because the teen has no interest in working with anybody. And that works too because there's only there's only one change that needs to happen, and it can happen in just the parent. If they see things differently, it trickles down to everybody in the family. If all of a sudden they have an insight into how they can be with their teen differently, their teen sees that, feels that, and responds to that as well. So yeah, don't lose hope if you feel like your teenager is not would never, do anything like therapy or coaching. That's okay. We only hope that if there is a relationship between two people, that when one person changes, it kind of changes the whole relationships as
Yeah,
well.
and so your clients don't have to be struggling with drugs or
Oh God, no.
trying to crawl out of that hole. It's basically if there's a disconnect or a feeling of a block within the relationship, you help bridge that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, most parents or most teens that come to me, they don't struggle with drugs, thankfully. And um, I only told that story, my story. It's of an extreme, that it doesn't matter how bad it looks from the outside. It could look as bad as I looked, being a junkie, homeless, and struggling to survive, which I'm sure to my parents that looks like the worst possible scenario.
I was going to say that actually, like
Mine.
that's a parent's worst nightmare is to see
Yeah,
their child in active
exactly.
addiction because it's a helpless place.
Yeah, yeah. And yet, I'm the living proof that it can turn around on the dime, right? Like it can just happen very quickly if you if that person is open to it.
Yeah. So tell me about the struggles that you're I don't I use the word avatar because when
Mhm.
we are talking to people, we're visualizing kind of like a standard or some commonalities within our clients. So tell me about the struggles that your parents have as your customers. What are they going through?
Yeah. Um, I think it could be a range. It can be, anything from I'm struggling with finding how to speak to my teens so we don't end up fighting every time we talk, to they're isolating me completely. I have no in with them. I don't understand them. I don't like them. Um, I don't really know where to go from here. And everything in between. There might be something in particular that they're struggling with that you don't have any idea how to help them with. Um, to, them just spending way too much time playing video games. And you see that as they're not going anywhere and you want them to. It's,
Like they're being lazy or just on an idle and the parents
yeah,
want them to do something. Yeah.
there's almost like this misunderstanding between the parent and the teen as if they're speaking a different language. And I help them find the language they can both understand.
And what feelings has your parents told you? Like, this is what they're going through when they come to you and they're like, I'm really struggling with this. How do they feel?
A lot of the times they feel defeated, hopeless. there's a feeling of like, I'm done. I'm
Giving up.
done. I don't know what else to do. There are some parents that just want to be proactive too. There are parents that I have been working with that just want better connection with their kids. They're kind of seeing them maturing, they're either already teenager or getting there. The youngest client that I worked with was 11 years old, and she was not a teen yet, but yet she was exhibiting behavior where her mom was just having a hard time connecting with her. And she wanted someone that could liaise between them, that she could feel like she's doing a good job as a mom and her her kiddo is okay as well. Um, so yeah, it can range from having a really hard time connecting with your kid to just being completely done. And not knowing where to go from there. Is that okay to be done? Like, is it okay for me to feel this way? Like I'm just not a good parent, and maybe I'm just not a good parent to this person. There's no way I can connect with them. Um, and that could feel really defeating in a lot of ways. Yeah.
Yeah, so defeating. And have you ever had a conversation with your parents about what they experienced when you were kind of going through all this?
My parents are like a different, they come from, I was going to say different breed. Um, they're not in really touchy people, they don't really want to go there. I tried a couple times, from different directions, but the way my parents decided to deal with what happened is just to like sweep it under the rug,
Mm.
essentially, and never discuss that again.
Yeah. It's like what we don't see, it doesn't really exist.
Yeah, it didn't really happen, so you're doing okay now. So we're just gonna forget about that. So the work that I'm doing as a coach, they really don't want to know anything about this type of work that I'm doing.
Yeah, I understand that. Has any teens ever reached out to you and said, "Hey, I need a coach?" Or is it generally just like 100% parents? If you were to give a percentage between the two, what would it be?
Not yet, but I'm hoping it will happen. Yeah. I'm kind of watching my son's friends. Not, I'm watching them in terms of like just seeing them in the world. And at this age, when they're 14, 15, they don't know what they want or need. Um, so they kind of rely on us to help them if they needed something. Like, for example, my son has a coach. So he's coaching with someone. And when I first introduced that idea to him, he was not for it at all. He he did it to me as a favor. I said, "Well, why don't you try it? I'll take you out to Starbucks or something." And I recommend that to parents. Like, just entice them with something for that very first session and say, if you don't want to do this ever again, you don't have to. But give it a try. It's like, tasting a new food or something. You may like it, you may not. Hmm. And at the time, my son was struggling with anxiety and he was diagnosed with ADHD. That was about a year ago when he first started with his coach. And now we just retested him before he went to high school or got accepted to high school. And he doesn't have any ADHD or anxiety. So, which I attribute partly to him maturing, but also, having the support that he has had this last year with his coach.
That's great. Yeah. So, that's all really helpful information because, I'm a parent. I've walked in so many of the same sets of shoes that like you're speaking of. And I did hire a coach for my daughter as a teenager because I didn't know what to do. And I did feel helpless. And I was like at my wit's end. So I'm like, maybe if I pay this person, they can help. And she hated it. It didn't, I just felt like it was a big waste of money because I almost like, I paid in advance and I wish that I wouldn't have because it just didn't work out, you know? So like
Mm,
the relationship that she just was not able to build with the coach at all. And so I learned from there like, okay, I need to have her do some of this work too for herself. But she didn't see any problems because at that point too, she was in active addiction at a very young
mhm.
age. So it was a little bit of a different story.
Wait, she was in active addiction
Hmm.
at the
Yeah,
time,
at
and you didn't know
15.
about it.
Mm-mm. No.
Oh,
I didn't know about it.
yeah.
So
The
that
big
was
elephant in the
the
room.
problem. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, so what it sounds like, I mean, your story is so powerful because what it is, it's like it is that worst case scenario of like you could have died, you know, and your
Hmm.
parents couldn't help you. There was nothing that even if they knew how to express their feelings, would they have known where to go or who to go to, you know, how to find you help. And you were able
Yeah.
to find that in yourself in your 20s. But unfortunately, you suffered for what, those 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. So, like your story, you know, we hear there's so much power in the story because you've lived it. Like you've lived that and that you're taking those struggles and you're turning around and helping other people, which
Yeah.
is like magic. It's like, hey, you know, it's like you have firsthand experience with that and
Yeah.
you're helping parents prevent that worst case scenario in their story.
Yeah. I feel like with my story, I relate with teens really well. And then with parents, I give them hope. You know, there's like a two-sided way that it happens. And with parents too, I think what I really love about what I've learned with my story, with my experience, is that we're not in charge as parents for our kids really for our kids' experience of life, you know. Ultimately, they're on their own journey. We get to be in it, you know, we get to take a part in it and hopefully, you know, build something beautiful and they want to keep it in their lives. But ultimately, it's their choice whether or not to have you in their life, even though you're their parent. And that understanding kind of lets parents off the hook a little bit, you know, because
Hmm.
we feel so much pressure as parents to get them somewhere, right? And not only it's our vision for them, right? And they may not align with it, but also there's a lot of responsibility on our shoulders and it feels heavy at times. And isn't it beautiful to just step back and be like, oh, they have their own path. And sure, I get to play a part, but it's not a leading part in any way. You know, I'm lucky if I'm, you know, somewhere as a supporting actor.
Yeah.
Um, and as they get older, like I'm feeling that more and more with my 14-year-old. It's beautiful to have them step into that leading role and advocate for themselves and decide for themselves whether or not they want to invest in the relationship with you. It's ultimately up to them. And yeah, with my parents, I think they just really strongly believed that they were the ones stirring that boat,
Mm.
essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it backfired in a big way.
Well, when we as parents, we take that responsibility and that pressure and we turn it into some kind of control, like we have control over something. And then we feel like we're losing the grasp on control because,
Hmm.
and then we can come off as controlling when we're just trying to be protective or responsible or, you know, guiding. And then it really is, I think that's so much of what helped me was realizing I'm not responsible for her life, my child. I'm not responsible for her
Hmm.
life, you know,
Hmm.
as a parent. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And the control was an illusion to begin with, you know. It was an illusionary
Hmm.
control.
It's something we
You
made up
never
to feel
had it.
like we could handle, could steer, could.
Yeah. In the beginning when they're little, for sure. But, like I tell parents this analogy, at some point they become the CEO and you move into board of advisors, and it happens differently for different kids, but somewhere around age 12, 13, 14 is when they start moving into that role. And your job as a parent is to encourage them. Yeah, cheer them on, provide some guidance, but also let them make their mistakes. And hopefully they'll learn something and build resilience and become independent.
Yeah, that's the hope and the dream.
Yeah.
That's the wish. Well, I'll shift a little bit now because I was able to look at you online and look at your website, which I love, by the way. I love it's so elegant and aesthetic, and I love your branding and your colors on there. It's a beautiful
Thank you.
website. Um, just to kind of move more into the science around business and marketing, and how we can be more present and more visible. Um, I did look at your social media as well. So I know you're on LinkedIn, you're on Instagram, you're on TikTok. I didn't see a
I,
YouTube for you, but I did see Facebook. I think that's the ones
I
I
think I
catch.
have one video on YouTube, or
Yeah.
maybe two.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe two. I'm not a big presence on there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's okay. So I'll just tell you what I see, and then I'll just go over what I recommend. And then after there, maybe any questions that you have. Um,
Okay, beautiful. Thank
so
you.
yeah. So the first thing that I'm feeling as you're just saying who you help, and I'll go back to like your content and your platforms in a moment, is parents. And the reason that I say that's who you're helping is because that's who you're paying. So we have martial
Hmm.
arts schools, right? We never, ever, ever would be able to advertise to a child, even though children are our primary. It's the parent signing them up. So when it comes to the avatar, the person that you're speaking to, we're always talking to the parent about their kids and providing resources for the parent about their kids. So we do have that kind of in common when it comes to who are we talking to in the first
Yeah,
place. And
makes
yeah,
sense.
the parent brings the kid in, and then the parent signs them up, and then the kid builds a relationship with other kids in the school, and then, they stay for sometimes 10, 15 years as a student. So when it comes to your messaging, I would make sure that you're talking to the parents and all that you do, because they're the ones that are going to say, my kid needs help, let me Google, let me find somebody to help, or let me see if I can get a referral, right?
Mm.
So we call that messaging and marketing because it's just something that we repeat over and over and over. Like, I help parents find peace with the uncomfortable moments they have while raising a teen, right? Something like that.
Hmm.
And once you have a message kind of frameworked together, you can be really flexible with it and say, I help. Uh, you said so many good things, by the way, when I was just asking you. You said, I'm going to read some of it back to you, but you help uh, defeated parents reconnect with their
Hmm.
teenagers. You help
Hmm.
parents that feel hopeless finally breathe new life into a relationship, right? So there's all of these things that you do, and that's all what your messaging would be to the public.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing about what you do and what we do, and what when we're kind of like inside building these relationships and building these businesses, is that we forget that in this modern day world, we have to project that all outside somehow and make it make sense to the public, right?
Yeah.
We have to intellectualize, we have to verbalize, we have to organize things in a way that it pierces the veil of the internet and gets through to somebody. And we do that with our language. We do that with our energy. We do that with our presence. We do that with our content. We do that with being very specific as to who we help, right?
Yeah.
Because I remember when I first started doing like marketing for yoga and stuff, I was just like, I help the whole world. Everybody should do yoga. I was so general. I was like, this is for everybody. What do you mean I need to pick somebody?
Yeah.
But as I did, I realized that when I picked an avatar, when I picked that person to talk to, it was at that time someone going through PTSD and trauma, trauma and
Mm.
trauma focused yoga. It attracted those people, but then everybody else came too, you
Yeah.
know. So I would say for you, when you're speaking and your messaging would need to be towards parents, because a
Hmm.
kid's not going to swipe on social media and say, oh, this coach will really help me. Maybe if they're closer to adulthood, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that you can't put content out like that. It's just that the parents are going to be the one looking for you always,
Yeah. I think
and they're waiting
initially I
for
did
you.
have
Yeah.
hopes around,
Yeah.
just getting in front of teens and hoping that they would um, want to learn more, at least. That's why I got on TikTok but I think you're right. It's the parents have more executive functioning, they can make those decisions, whereas teens just figuring things out and they may not know what's good for them yet.
Yeah. And there is a percentage, right? So if you were to go to a school and talk to a cafeteria full of teenagers and you tell your story and you tell your struggles and you say, if this seems like something that you're going through in your family, have your parents reach out and they may remember for a day or two. And you might get some conversions from something like
Hmm.
that. But knowing teenagers, they'll put your card in their backpack and never even give it to their parents or something like that. But the desperate ones will. The desperate ones might, right? But
Or they may say
overall,
something to their parent, like, hey, I kind of like that coach I saw today. And then it's up to parents to convert that, right?
yeah, see, it's still up to the parent. Yeah.
Hmm.
But you can still make an impact that way. You can still go and tell your story and
Absolutely.
and tell teens, this is what I went through. This is how I felt with the relationship with my parent. Because also, that teen that cannot communicate with their parent, they might just reach out to you and say, "Hey, my mom's going to pay for this. I can't even like like you could not go to your parents and say, "Hey, I'm going through this. Will you buy me this coach?" Right?
Yeah.
They they might be able to get the finances to go to you, but ultimately the parent has to be in on it. They have to be like, "Okay, this is going to be a good idea. Let's move forward." So,
Yeah.
a lot of that is around your messaging.
Hmm.
One of the frameworks that I teach people, because messaging is like this elusive, like, what does that even mean? Is I help blank achieve blank so they can blank. It's literally like one of those mash puzzles where you're like filling in, I help
Hmm.
parents achieve blank so they can blank. And then from there, you just evolve it into something that feels natural and fluid and not rehearsed and not frameworky. But without the start of some kind of fill in the blank, it's really hard
Yeah.
to, because, but so they can, I help parents reconnect with their children so that they
They
can,
can have a better relationship with them.
yeah, have a better
Yeah.
relationship, so they can find hope, so they can be connected, so they can, and that ultimately is, in psychology, we know enough psychologists, I'm sure between you and I, we have probably a
Yeah.
room full of them. There's an outcome that everybody's wanting, and that is really an emotional thing. There's some kind of result that they want, even if they're not fully aware of it, but your messaging helps them say, oh my gosh, I am struggling with having a good relationship with my child.
Hmm.
And then the parent reaches out to you.
Yeah.
So generally, I say pick one thing that they are dreaming of doing, that they're dreaming of achieving, and talk about that, because it future paces people into a possibility that they don't quite know is possible yet.
Mm. That's actually really helpful to just because as a practitioner, I think I struggle sometimes with picking one lane because, we want to help everybody, like you said. We just want to help the world. And having clear messaging like this, that you just come at from different angles, maybe, and reiterate it many times can feel more strategic in the way. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's because people want to feel heard and they want to feel understood. And when we are calling out parents or the feelings that they're experiencing or their dreams and
Hmm.
their desires and our messaging, they feel like we automatically understand them. It cuts through a lot of the energetic what ifs. Is this person right for me? It almost instantly takes them from, I'm wondering if there's help out there for me, to I can connect with this person. This person understands me. An example is with, I do case studies on some of my older products, and my brother wanted to do yoga. And I said, well, I'm just going to do this case study for yoga for business owners. And I like to look at the data and I look at the number and the conversions and all that stuff that happens. And I sent him a video and he's like, well, this isn't for me because I don't have a business. Because that was his first thought, is like, this isn't going to work for me. It's like not for me, you know? So, but what happens generally is when you are speaking to a parent, all these other people end up finding you too. I don't
Hmm.
understand exactly the energetics of it. I tell people I'm going to write a thesis on it some days, but then the teens will come, and then the uncles will come, and then the grandparents come. And then Aunt
Hmm.
Charlotte walks in and says, here's my teen, here's my sister's teenager or whatever. They all come, but without the solid messaging, nobody finds you in the first place.
Yeah, I think you're speaking to something really interesting. It's like, and when the messaging is clear, people who may not fall into that direct, audience, it's like a marginalized, audience, they still hear something in there for themselves. Like once they resonate with even a little bit of it, it becomes true. The whole thing becomes true for them. It's like they may not be there yet, but there's something that's resonating that they could see that unfolding that way. And I think like the messaging that I really want to bring like for the parents is that, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves as parents, and that's when parenting feels hard. So all these parents that feel like I can't do it anymore, it's too hard, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't even know if I'm doing a good job, all of that pressure um, can change. I mean, it can go away with just a different understanding of parenting. And I feel like I'm really good at doing that. Just changing the understanding. And then it's almost like they find their own answers with this new set of, like glasses that we see reality through. And all of a sudden things become clearer for them. And it's almost like I'm not even the one giving them answers. They're coming up with their own answers just with this new understanding. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's really hard, as a practitioner, I must say, because when I became a coach, I didn't realize I had to become an entrepreneur as well. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
there's a
And then
whole
you, and
side
then
of
you
this
become a marketer.
business. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You become
Yeah.
a marketer, you become a website designer, you become all of a sudden social media creator, it's like, oh, all of these things. So yeah, we need someone like you to kind of reel us in, because there's a lot of effort that we put into it, right? And it's almost like having it, just spray everywhere instead of we can actually narrow down to a specific audience that you want to work with as a
Mhm.
practitioner. It's not that you don't want to work with them, and it could also attract this other marginal audience, like you're saying.
Yeah, and you do want to do that because you want to have a good filter too. I
Yeah.
have had successful marketing to a very wide range of people. And at the end of the day, a small percentage of them cared about my emails because I
Mm.
wasn't really talking to them. I was talking to this person, and this person. And so since I was like spraying my energy out there, that's what I was receiving. There's that you get what you give kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing too. So when
Mm-hmm.
you're hyper focusing your energy or focusing your energy, it's literally like a red laser that's
Mm-hmm.
going out to that specific person and it's reaching them and you're getting that person back and it makes everything else relevant. It makes your email list, all your numbers go up and opens, your ROI goes up because now you're actually
Mm-hmm.
talking to the people that can buy something from you. I have had so many lists where they either unsubscribed because they found out like they didn't know what they subscribed for in the first place, or I
Yeah.
switched my whole business model in the middle and now I'm not selling that anymore. So they don't even, or they add to junk. And when people do stuff like that, it affects like all of your numbers when you're just going into spam folders and stuff. I mean, there's other reasons why that happens, but you ultimately want a clean list from the get go when you're sending out educational material or how to, or really connecting with people. You want that connection to start really early on. And that's in your content and what you post on social media and your messaging and who you're talking to.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, your content is your marketing. So that
Mm-hmm.
by the time that people get to receiving emails from you, they've already opted in to 90% of what you're sharing. You've already done, we say selling and stuff, but really selling is connecting with people, offering, inviting,
Well,
educating,
yeah.
right?
They already know who you are. They feel like they know you as a
Mhm.
person. That's what I feel like social media is really good at. I don't believe that, I maybe it works for some other people, but I don't believe that you can sell through Instagram, for example. Like for me, Instagram is just another way, another touch point with someone who's interested in what I have to say, where they can learn about me. They can actually hear me speak, they can actually feel my energy or my messaging. And then from there, they kind of go and look further, whether to my website or, my webinars or whatever else I offer. And it's just so interesting to see that I rarely get messages on Instagram. But then, those are kind of the people that sign up for my webinars
Hmm.
too. So then I get to know them, right, in person or online in this capacity. But before they sign up, they've already feel like they know me. So when
Mhm.
they arrive, they're 90% there
Yeah.
and they want more.
Yeah.
They
Exactly.
want
And
more, go more
that's what
deep.
good
Yeah.
content does.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been a lot of studies as to what people use social media for, and it is the lowest score was on to buy something. Like they don't use social media to buy something. I
I
think
never
Tik
bought anything on social
yeah,
media. Like,
I think TikTok's maybe changed that a little bit, but they're not actively looking to shop by opening
mhm.
social media. They're actively looking to connect
Yeah.
with family, with friends, with people. And just from the research I've done with the platforms that I know best, being TikTok and YouTube have been the last two that I've studied. Uh, TikTok is really good for connecting with people. YouTube also, but TikTok is a community. You can build an entire community, and I've done it. I've done it, and I've had the pleasure of speaking to a specific avatar that I attracted and then realized that's not who I wanted to serve too. So, I test these things that I speak of too.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm not going to do that again. So next time I do that, I'm going to be very specific over this type of person that I can help achieve this so that they can leave their job, so that they can step into financial freedom, so that they can learn how to share their gifts with the world, share their experience with the world.
Hmm.
while living a prosperous life, because otherwise everything feels like work, right? If you're not doing what you love, it just feels like work.
Yeah,
So,
that's a really good point. I think as a as a creator, like I don't want to attract people that just are going to buy my stuff. That's not my ultimate goal. What I want to do is I want to serve people and help people while making money for myself. So I don't want to funnel in a crowd that is not going to resonate with what I'm saying, even if they pay me money. Like that's not what I want to do. In fact, it's going to be very awkward for me if I have a group of people that are like, oh, that's not what I came here for.
mhm,
Um, and I feel like I wasted my money, right? Like I didn't, that's not the energy that I want. That's not what I want to leave in the world. And so I think it's just really interesting that I'm noticing like before I convert anyone in the client, I almost have like a full relationship with them. We've already been in multiple conversations. I've sent them some material for free. And with that, they want to go deeper. That's my ideal client. That's who I want to serve if they actually have a desire to go on this journey with me, not someone who's like looking for a quick fix in a
yeah,
way.
and honestly, I've looked at the statistics with paid ads versus organic content, and paid
Hmm.
ads can bring in revenue like that, right? You can sell with a paid ad, but you end up usually getting, and I can't say this is across the board for every industry, but you usually end up getting people that want that quick fix
Hmm.
and they're not committing to any work. So they're opting into something, maybe paying $50 for something or $70 for something, and they're never heard of again. And it kind of affects your email list, but it also doesn't give you good data as to what is actually serving people, you know?
Yeah.
So I always recommend when we do organic content and we're doing organically building our businesses, we get all of that information. What
Hmm.
is resonating, what is helping people, and the people that opt in and continue the relationship for a long time are the people that were not bought. They bought into it
Hmm.
themselves. They did not have to be bought from a social media ad. That's not
Yeah.
always, because we do run our schools through a lot of Facebook ads and such to get new students, but the ones that stay are referrals. They're the ones that relationship is built. Not 100%, but the organic content. I know for people asking like, should I do ads? Da, 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 da. Should I just put an
Hmm.
ad out there for a webinar? Eventually end up in the same spot with nobody to serve because the people just fall
Hmm.
off faster, right? So the best marketing is your own content, speaking to the people that need your help. And
Yeah.
you gave a lot of good stuff. I mean, you were talking about how parents feel defeated. You could
Hmm.
do videos on, hey, I'll say this too. After looking at your, TikTok and some of the videos you do, your best videos, you had hooks in there that say, I'm a coach for parents and teens. So you
Hmm.
were identifying yourself right away, or you were connecting with people right away. And in marketing, we call that a hook because essentially what it does is it stops people from scrolling to listen for two or three more seconds. And as soon as they realize that it's something they resonate with, your views go up. And your highest
Yeah.
views were those videos where you said, I coach parents and teens. So if you were to repeatedly do that so that you could get the new following, it would
Hmm.
grow, right? So your following would grow and people would begin to probably go to your page to watch your videos if you're giving them helpful, reassuring, solutions. And you're really good
Yeah.
at that.
Thank you.
Yeah, connecting with their feelings. In the beginning, those hooks and such help you build. And then eventually, if you have a following, you don't have to worry about that so much because it just kind of organically snowballs, right? Now the
Hmm.
algorithm knows who and what you're doing. Because in the
Mm.
beginning, the algorithm doesn't even know. So it doesn't even know who to send your stuff to, right? It's
Yeah.
just like, yeah, it's just like metadata in the background that's always running is, here's Kate's video about blah, blah, blah. Who do I send it to? And the interesting thing about social media is everything is scanned with the captions. You know how they break and they will auto caption your video. So the
Hmm.
platform takes what you're saying and it can seed out that metadata and say, parents, teens, let's go to this person because they were just looking at this yesterday, which is cool, also a little scary, but
Yeah.
but that's how important it is that we show up and speak our truths consistently so that the algorithm even knows who to show it to. So there's that. There's the what you're sharing, having it be helpful so that it is shared and engaged with. And then
Yeah.
there's in the beginning, there's the hooks just to get people to slow down for a minute. Because I don't know you, but sometimes I just swipe. Like I
Yeah.
can't sleep. It's 3 a.m. Let me just swipe. Yep, yep. I have no idea what that person's talking about. No idea. Um, and then if the hooks get me though. So if you look at your own psychology and if you know who somebody is talking to and you know that it's for you, then you'll stop and listen. And
Yeah.
that's what the algorithm wants is for you to slow people down.
You know what I'm realizing, and I think that was a mistake for me and maybe a lot of other people who just get on social media for the first time. Like, you get tired of talking about the same thing, yourself, because you feel like you're just constantly saying the same thing over and over in many different ways. And so I would just change it, you know. But what I'm hearing you say is that that's okay. That's okay to have a consistent message and
Mhm.
just keeps repeating your messaging over and over and over because like it may, resonate with a different person differently when you speak about it in a different way with different, visual or whatever, maybe a different format too. Some people like carousels or speaking head, whatever. It's just as for me as a creator, it's just like it was a just a fresh thought. I just had like, oh, it's okay for me to just keep saying the same thing over and over again in different ways.
Oh, absolutely it is.
It doesn't
Absolutely.
mean I'm
And
redundant.
yeah, I mean, absolutely it is. And then the other thing is that I just had this conversation with a couple business owners, content creators, and they're like, "What do I post? I don't know what to do." And our best content tends to come from real life conversations that we just had with someone. So if you were
Hmm.
to look back at all the experiences that you had with your customers and you're taking those little pieces of their struggles and you don't have to name their names, but get on video and say if you're struggling with this as a parent to a teenager, blah 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 blah, and you can give them a solution, or I think part of your goal, part of your mission is to give that hope through your videos. And you've
Yeah.
probably talked to enough people to where, and maybe even yourself, other parents, you could interview me
Hmm.
about the struggles that I've had with my daughter and addiction or as a teenager, because there was a lot of them. And interview as many parents as you can and then just say, hey, I just had this discussion about blah, 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 blah. And
Hmm.
that's your goal, is to relate to people and empathize with people and to connect with people. Because at the end, as you're building up followers, because followers, as you know, don't pay the bills. Those are more of like vanity metrics. But as you're building that up, the connection will eventually cancel out the algorithm so that people are watching. But
Yeah.
in the beginning, that's kind of a hard thing to do because all you have in the beginning is the algorithm. So
Got to
you
play the
can,
game.
what's that?
I said you got to play the game in the
Yeah.
beginning.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you really do. And but then eventually you're like you don't see Tony Robbins sending out emails or posting. I mean, I guess he posts on social media. He just runs ads, like
Yeah.
as you get to different stages and levels, your systems change, your angles change, your messaging changes, like everything evolves. It just evolves.
Hmm.
Um, and I think you're at that point of evolution too, where you're like, let me find this parent who's having this issue with their teenagers and let me talk to that person and give them hope because I promise you we need it. We need it on social media. We will follow you and we will check every day to see what kind of videos you're because you also like your energy is so pure and so calming and relaxing and it's like Kate's given me some wisdom today that I can function and because a lot of that time parents get anxiety from their own kids' struggles, right? So we're
Mm-hmm.
anxious about our kids being anxious. So when you can give people that dose of everything's going to be okay and this is what you can
Yeah.
take with you today. We do learn that we don't have to try to be responsible for it all.
Mm. So, can I plug something in? I
Yeah.
have something that's exactly that that's coming up in June. I have a free webinar that I'm going to be doing with another coach, Lisa Kaplan. She's also a teen and parent coach. And we're going to do a free webinar that's called Parenting with Ease. That's exactly what you're
Ah,
speaking to right now.
yeah. Yeah.
And it is for parents who just want that peace of mind. They just, and I tell a lot of parents, like, we're not going for perfection here. There is no such thing, that's an illusion that our human brain created, that there's some sort of perfection here. But what you can get is like this peace of mind, this calmness, this ease that you can parent from, knowing that what you're doing is already enough. And your kids will feel that from you so much when you're not coming from pressure, but you're coming from clarity and ease. That's gonna shift things for everybody in your family. And so that's kind of what we're going to be talking about in June, which I think like would be amazing for a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah, and you are that. You said you need people like me to kind of hone in the energy of all of us. We're like, because I was like that. That's my education has been like to help myself first, and then I'm like, okay, I
Hmm.
see this in other people. Like if we can just hone it in a little bit, together we can help so many more people. And we need someone like you
Absolutely.
that is reaching, they're waiting for you. That's one of the things I realized as I started posting social media, and I've done it a few times and I've stopped and I've worked on my products and I've stopped, I've re-evaluated what my intentions are over and over again. But what I found is there's people waiting for you. They can't find
Hmm.
you, right? If you Google, I need a teen coach or I need help, whatever,
Yeah.
unless you have blogs or you're on Reddit or your name's mentioned or you're on Google Places listing your
Yeah.
specialties or you've got SEO attached to your website, you're not going to come up anywhere, right?
Yeah. What's funny is I don't think parents ever Google for like, I need a coach. I think what they Google is like, my son is vaping. What do I do? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they go for the problem
Well, and
solving.
that exactly, they do often search for solutions to their problems, and I think we all do that. And that's because the stages of awareness as people who ne need help differ, right? They may
Yeah.
say, "I've tried six coaches and can't find the right one," or they may say something is wrong, but I don't know what it is, and I don't even know the first thing to do. And they may say, yeah, there's just different levels of awareness to exactly what they're going through, and they either know there's help out there or they don't even know that their kid needs help, right? And that's
Yeah.
kind of your job is to, with your content and with your blogs or with your books or with your posts or with your events that you do, is to bring that awareness,
Hmm.
bring that awareness and help people see. Usually the stage is like they'll come in and they'll see your video and they're curious. And like, this sounds like something familiar, you know? They'll be curious. This
Hmm.
this uh this framework is I think it's Donald Miller. There's so many marketer guys I've researched and like look at their work and ultimately there's psychology in there, but there's also a lot of energy. So first there's like the just the curiosity of like, oh my gosh, Kate posted this video. Let me send it to my husband and see if like this sounds like us, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then as they continue to follow you, by the way, that it takes about 7 to 12 points before they even move into another stage, they become enlightened about something, you know? It's like, oh, she said, oh, like maybe they're doing drugs or maybe they're, I did not know that my daughter was addicted in active
Mm-hmm.
addiction for years. And so if I would have seen like, hey, is this what your kid's doing? I maybe would have had an enlightening moment. And then they end up committing to something that you offer eventually. And it's not always, it's not sales through social media. It's through
Yeah.
opting into something that you delivered to your email list,
Yeah.
usually. Usually.
I feel like, yeah, it's not really linear like that. And they may have to do a few more touch points too, like go to your webinar or, see you do a live or participate in something like that before they even think about scheduling consult call.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, this has been so helpful, Laura, like
Yeah.
just inspiring me. Because a lot of the times, you want to do it, but you don't know how. And this is inspiring. It feels like I have a little bit of a narrower path now where I can actually put my energy to and, feel the return.
Mhm. Yeah. And I think you're just going to have to make it a mission to connect with with
With
parents.
parents, yeah.
And part of the art of business and marketing, because it is an art, is doing that. Like how to do that. How do I do that?
Hmm.
We all ask that question. How do I connect with these people?
Yeah.
Sometimes that's a
Mm,
whiteboard. I have it in my teaching area. I have a whiteboard behind me, and that is hopefully how, because I've tried so many things. And I'm like, how do I want to connect with people that helps
mm-hmm.
them connect with me that makes sense to everybody? So it's a me and my energy thing, just like it's a you and your energy thing. Because if it's not working for your energy system, we get depleted, right?
Right.
So much of that art is learning this feels good for me to connect to people in this way, and they're
Hmm.
responding and they know I'm here now.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Well, um, I do say I think one of the only things that I think you've got so much knowledge already. Um, so I don't want to go too much into details over, you know, things you could add to your website because honestly, your marketing is going to be in your content. But somehow getting people into a lower ticket or a free, to get them on your email list. Like you
Hmm.
said, you send people resources or you go to events and just making sure that you get that email. Because one of the things I teach also is we don't own any of our followers on social media. So
No.
followers are vanity metrics. TikTok has shut down and people have lost everything, right? So if Facebook were to shut down and you worked all these years getting a following and you were getting leads from that or whatever, eventually, I mean, they own the people that you that are watching you, you know. So the email list is so important, but you want to make it very low friction so that if they are that oh, I had a little bit of an insight that this person like I rang true with something that she said. Let me
Hmm.
go click on this link that she has and download this whatever or go to her because when they end up on your website, you don't want them to just leave. You want them to because right now I think you either have like a free, you know, video stuff like this people don't usually do unless they are really desperate, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we know each other, but I'm saying first time, let me just schedule a consultation. And if they are really, really desperate, they will probably
Yeah.
do that. But if they're just trying to learn something, they'll probably go to your website, look around a little bit. And if they're not ready to do that, they'll,
Yeah, you just
they
gave me
just,
an idea to maybe put a couple of PDFs in there on the website where they can click and get a free copy, if they leave their email or something. Just a couple of resources there I already have on hand, actually.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
just could just add to my website. And yeah, I don't think I've ever, I think maybe I got one or two calls from my website, to be honest with you, from people I don't know and that wanted to speak further. But outside of that, yeah, it's just, I think it's another touch point for a lot of people just to learn more about who you are, how you represent yourself, what your story is, and um, but it will take a lot more, even like meeting someone in person, like at the parent coffee, like I said. The first time that I went, I didn't do anything. I didn't do any sign up lists. And of course, people didn't freely come up to me and give me their email. But this time I learned, I brought a little sign up sheet and I actually said I'm going to be doing a drawing for a book for anyone who signs up. And I had 8 out of 15 people sign up, which is a really great, return on that. But it just tells you like it's not that people don't want, it's almost like up to me to kind of offer or to entice them to just take that one extra little step, even though the desire may be there.
Yeah, and you can do a flyer too, in-person things, right?
Hmm.
What I call this, and I'm writing a book about the mouth of the funnel. And basically, the mouth of
Oh,
the
I love
funnel
that
is like,
title.
yeah, all these people are coming to you from, it could be events, it could be content, it could be
Hmm.
anything, right? And your job is to have the mouth of that funnel be as big as it possibly can. Some people said, I'm just going to write a book, or like that is literally an entry point. When you think about the top of the funnel, that's an entry point. Your live events are an entry point. Your content is an entry point. Your website's an entry point. A lot of people don't go to websites like they used to, though. Like when we used to go to
Mm-mm.
websites for everything, they just don't. I know businesses that run entirely without websites, right? So
Hmm.
it doesn't do the marketing. Yeah, you're right. It is your job to kind of do that and to educate people and to say, I'm here. And as that mouth of the funnel, you collect all the email addresses because you do own those people. Now that you
Hmm.
have their email address, you own that contact to I mean, obviously don't own the person. You own that contact.
Not forever. They
Yeah,
can
forever.
subscribe.
Yeah, until
They
they
want.
opt out, like your list will not disappear. It cannot be taken from you. And
Right.
you're basically exchanging your energy instead of like a Facebook ad. You give money and
Hmm.
you get the lead. You're exchanging your energy for the lead. And once you have that lead and you nurture them through your email and you build that list and you're
Yeah.
inviting them to webinars or, free workshops or lower ticket, like $40 classes or something, the funnel gets smaller, the people drop off or they just come later, right? And the people
Hmm.
that are meant to work with you, they contact you, they reach out, they opt in.
Hmm.
They'll schedule that one-on-one consultation. So it takes all that other stuff for them to say, "Oh, let me schedule this consultation because I know Kate. I know she
Yeah.
can help me. Let me make sure that we're all on the same page, and then we'll
Yeah.
pay her for a
Yeah,
6 month
that's so much
coaching."
energy, to do that one consult, not one consult, one client, right? Not
Well,
paying client.
well, the thing about that though is if we are forcing ourselves to do something that is not in alignment and that feels like work, it's a lot of energy. But if we're doing it because we love what we do,
Yeah,
it's not at all.
bingo. That's
It's
exactly why I moved into serving parents and teens, because I can just talk about it incessantly forever. And I don't lose energy, I actually gain energy from it. I'm energized by the messaging that I'm sharing. And with coaching executives, it was the opposite. I just
yeah.
was not feeling it.
Yeah, and it is. And that is exactly how you get exhausted. That's how people burn out. They get
Yeah,
exhausted. They get they have to
because it's not resonating, right,
no,
with
it's exhausting.
their energy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see, we talk about insight and mind, right? And the three
Hmm.
principles, and we talk about those things. If we're not moving from something that's aligned, we're not getting energy from universal mind anymore. We're using our own physical energy, and that's why it gets
Mm.
depleted so fast.
Because you're
So,
intellectualizing it,
mhm.
right? Yeah,
Yeah, or you're
that makes
forcing
sense.
yourself. Well,
Yeah.
the hustle. That's why the hustle culture is dying because a lot of those hustlers are not of alignment. They're not acting out of passion or alignment. They're acting out of, I have all this 30, 20-year-old energy. Let me just, put my
Power
nose to the
through, yeah.
grind. Yeah. And so, what I do, why this is such a passion for me, same thing. I love this stuff. I could talk about it all the time, from people just starting out to people that want to, cross that $1 million threshold. It's it's something that I love to do and I get energy from it too. And universal mind is that's the energy that I'm using. So I can't get exhausted unless I use my intellect too much or I,
Hmm. It's
move
like
into.
aligning with your purpose in a way. I mean, kind of cliche, but it's true. And you'll feel it because you won't be feeling burnt out.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's why I tell people to, if you're stressed out, your energy system's telling you something. If you're moving
Hmm.
into exhaustion, your energy system's telling you something. And we do need to listen to that because it's almost guiding us as a direction.
Hmm.
But when you look at the the other thing is all of this that I'm telling you is so natural. It's so natural when you are like, if you go to an event and you get 10 email addresses or 20 or 30, you're going to be so excited. You're going to come home and you're going to put it into an email like, hey, it was so nice. Like all of that is naturally what we do anyways to communicate with people.
Hmm.
So it seems like we're building this giant thing, but it's really just a system that we would do anyways. And we can serve
Yeah.
more people when we, tighten up the methods a little bit.
Hmm. When we stop complicating it, right?
Yeah.
Because our brain just wants to complicate it so much.
Yeah,
Like,
and we
yeah,
also
just do
see it
what's
as like
natural.
this, yeah, we see it as this big giant thing that we need to do and plan out, but it's so natural for us to build those relationships and those connections. I see people doing it without even thinking about it and without even really trying. That's how natural it is for human beings to do that.
Absolutely. If I meet someone and they say something to me, and then later I think about them and I'm like, oh, I wish I said that, or I have some new thinking about what they came to me with. Absolutely, I'm going to reach out to that person and say like, hey, I have some more thoughts. Do you want to hear it? About what you've said to me. And I would do that with a friend. I would do that
Yeah,
with, a love interest when I was dating. You wouldn't just forget about them. You,
exactly.
you
Yeah,
can reach out.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's Linda Pransky said, my clients are my friends.
Hmm.
You wouldn't just leave your friends hanging. You're going to make sure that you're doing your part of the relationship too. And the other thing too, as a someone who's offering solutions, people almost depend on us to consistently say, I'm here for you. So we are a little bit more than a friend. We're like someone who's walked that path and taking our part of the relationship and responsibility and saying, I know that you probably, are dealing with life, but I want you to know I'm still here and I'm offering this if you're still struggling with connecting with your teen.
Hmm.
That's our
Yeah, they
responsibility.
they gotta feel that we care,
Mhm.
you know, and that gives them a lot of hope when you have someone who cares, genuinely cares. It's not like I'm wanting to convert you into a client. No, I care about you doing well, even if you never become my client,
Yeah,
just as a human to human.
exactly. And the interesting thing too, I never do anything for the money. I never do anything
Hmm.
for the money. I do things because they're fun, but it has a price tag. I've noticed everything that's very successful in my life, I've always done for some other reason, and I just happen to put a price on it. And then the
Yeah.
price has to be worth for me to show up and for me to do the work, like we have a Turo car, and I'm like, well, to rent it out for a month, like somebody wanted to rent it out for a month, and I was like,
Hmm.
I don't know, 500 seems a little cheap. Let's go to maybe 1300, something like that. So we just put a price that makes sense, you
Yeah.
know.
Because otherwise you're like, I'll just use my own car, right? Like I'll just use it.
Yeah, you're not giving yourself that energetic exchange that we're so used to doing with money, right? That's the energy.
Hmm.
financial, because money is energy too. So that's the exchange.
I think the problem with the practitioners too, especially, ones that are genuine about the work that they're doing, sometimes they're like so excited by the work they're doing, they're willing to give it for free. They just want to help people.
Mhm.
And, it's kind of like, no, it's got to make sense for you as well. You have to make a living off of it.
Mhm.
You have a family, you have your life to take care of. And so, like you said, it has to balance each other out.
Yeah. And I feel, because I have done that too. I think I've made every mistake in the book over the years and I've learned. Um, I've had successful businesses that I shut down because I just didn't want to do it anymore, but I've had, well, let me do this because I really want to do it, so I'm just going to do it for free. But people value things that they pay for differently.
Hmm.
And so when you talk about, offering services for free, you're going to know if that's not working for you. If you're solving everybody's problems before they need to pay you, you're going to know. You're going to be like, okay, maybe I shouldn't give them everything, right? You're going to know. Um,
Hmm.
but since coaching is, sounds to be like a long-term relationship, it's probably pretty safe to serve people before you, upsell them into a package. But yeah, people really do value the lower ticket I go, uh, the more problems I tend to have just in other businesses that we run. So we raise our
Hmm.
prices to get people that are committed to change because they pay for it. So there's a very strange psychology behind people paying for something and it meaning something because they paid for it versus not showing up because it was a free blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Kate, do you have any questions? I know I want to ask you one more thing before we, finalize, but do you have any questions for me?
I don't think so. I think this has been very helpful, very thorough. I have some ideas where to go from here. Definitely feel a little bit more connected with my target audience, after this conversation. Just have a little bit more clarity of who I want to serve. Yeah, it just needs a little tweaking with my messaging and just keep going. Just keep swimming, Just keep
Yeah.
swimming.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, luckily, we do get response from humanity too. So if they're listening, if they're hearing us, if they're getting our videos because the algorithm picked it up, then you know that when you're calling out, a parent that's desperate, that that
Yeah.
that kind of maybe a hook in a video or something works. Because I have also posted a lot of videos and never done any hooks, and they just don't do very well until you have a following, and then they can kind of go out to the right people. But yeah, so my question to you is, what do you think you're gonna, if you could say three things that you're gonna apply or work on or start building, what are those three
Hmm.
things for you?
Yeah, I think I just really, what I heard from you and from this conversation today, I think I really need to sit down and whiteboard a lot of these, just really feel inside of myself too, because I'm a parent, and scan across my clients, just some of the tension points that I can write out, just something that parents come up against. And it doesn't need to be a desperate situation either. It just has to be something that they can relate to that maybe I'm going through with my teen as well. And really, zero in on 5 to 10 tension points and keep creating around that from a different angle. So that's one thing that I'm taking away. I don't know if the lighting is, hold on a second. That I'm taking away from this conversation. And then the second part is probably that social media is not where my clients come from. Um, my the clients will come from me building a relationship with them in some sort of capacity. And then yeah, the actual paying client is not going to convert from watching my social media or videos or whatnot. There has to be another touch point where it is a closer relationship, whether a webinar or one-on-one consult or in-person event, something along the lines where they can actually get a taste of me in the very personal way, I think. And then three, I think I really am going to go back to my website and gear it towards parents versus parents and teens. I think that was really key for me today. Um, because initially, I think when I first created that website, I was really hopeful that, whether a parent will send it to their teen and say, like, look at this, look what do you think about that? Or they will somehow come to it from TikTok videos that I created for teens. But to be honest with you, my experience with TikTok has been like I'm creating for teens, but I'm getting parents that are signing up or following me.
Which is
Um,
helpful. That's helpful to know because that means that the content is doing something,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
You just
I
want it to
mean,
do what
maybe
you want it
maybe a
to.
mom would see her kid in the video, and she would be like, "Oh, I'm interested in learning that side of the story more." But, my audience essentially is what you said, is parents. Uh, and just doing some tweaks around that with my website and make it more parent oriented would go a long way. And adding those free resources that I can share as well.
Yeah, and another thing, if you want to do the way to use social media is to put a link to an opt-in. So you can put a link, to you can do your website, but usually if you look at a funnel, it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's a form that pops up that says get your free resource. I'm sure you filled them out. We've all done it,
Yeah.
right? It
Yeah.
pops up, it says get your free resource, and then you put your name and your email address, and then it delivers it
Mm-hmm.
to your inbox or something like that. So I always recommend people need a call to action in the social media. So that means follow me, reach out. How are you, ask questions. How is your relationship with your teen? Give me a 1 to 5 score. Let's talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that, right? When you're encouraging people to engage, you're not only giving that connection an opportunity, you're offering them something off of social media. So I always tell people make sure that you're telling them the next step or what to do. And so much of that conversion is putting a link in to that resource so that
Yeah.
they're listening to their video, they're connecting with you, and you're saying, hey, download this resource in bio or in, YouTube, you could put it in the caption. TikTok, I think you could put it in the caption. But TikTok also, you could put it, if you have a business account, you could put a link right in the top of your bio. Every platform's a little bit different, but if you get a funnel, it's just a basic opt-in so that no matter what video you're posting, they can then give you their email address. So that,
Yeah.
that is one of your main, all of us, aside from educating people and helping people and serving people, one of your main intentions with you putting in that energy is to build your list
Mm.
through that.
That's really helpful. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
and
a
that's
lot of the times we just educate and forget to do a call to action of any kind.
exactly. And that's how you will use social media to build your list.
Yeah, that was helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Well, that's fun. I'm excited to see what you do in the next 30 days and like
Oh my
what,
gosh.
because we're
30
just gonna meet
days.
up 30 days. 30 days. I know. We're just gonna meet up in 30 days and just see, what's changed. What have you learned? Uh, how are things aligning? How does your energy feel, right? Is it
Hmm.
because I think you're going to just notice shifts. That's usually what happens is you'll notice these shifts and then you'll sometimes your stats will change too, just depending on how much time and energy you put into what you're building. But if you make it a mission to educate the parents and give them hope and you put it on your wall that that's what your intention is, everything else kind of aligns with that, with the right.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited to see what I'll do.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
It definitely inspired me today. I appreciate it so much.
Of
I
course. And of
appreciate the
course, I'm
time.
here if you need anything in the meantime too.
Thank you, Laura.
Yeah, you're
Mm.
welcome. You're
Have
welcome.
a
There are a lot of mechanics. People get hung up on tech a lot. It's like you could literally use ChatGPT for anything, you know? Like you could learn anything through Google now, right? So
That's what I use ChatGPT mostly for, you know. I don't like using it for creating content, but like there's mechanics, the nuts and bolts, you know, that
yeah.
it's really helpful with.
And it's that's part of the systems that you're building. So I know you
Hmm.
you put like what are the systems that I'm building or like you needed help with that and that's part of it is those nuts and bolts.
Right. Well, it was nice to start my Sunday with you like this.
Likewise, and I know you're going to the beach now, right?
I am. I can hear my little ones like running over there, putting things together. So have a good rest of your Sunday as well.
I will.
And
I'm
I
gonna
will see you in 30 days.